Hey, welcome back to See Today Business with me, Indra Marpaung. The carbon exchange in Indonesia aims to become a global carbon trading hub as the country has the world's second largest stretch of rainforest, while various industries are moving towards sustainable energy practices. Since its launch in September 2023, the Financial Services Authority, or OJK, has observed a gradual increase in the number of carbon exchange service users. Ernanda, the CEO of OJK's Capital Markets, Financial Derivatives and Carbon Exchange Supervision, stated that as of March 18, 2024, there have been 52 users on the exchange. Meanwhile, the total accumulated transaction volume of carbon trading reached over 501,900 tons of CO2 equivalent, valued at 31.36 billion rupiah. Out of this transaction, over 182,000 tons of CO2 equivalent have been retired through the carbon exchange. Now let's talk more about the Indonesia carbon trading prospect with Lufaldy, Ernanda, OJK Financial Derivative and Carbon Exchange Supervision Director. Mas Aldi, thank you so much for being on the show. So let's go with this. So September 26, 2023, Indonesia initiated its first carbon credit trading. How is the progress so far in terms of volume?
In terms of the volume,
yes.
Thank you for hosting me anyway. In terms of the volume, I think it's pretty much as the expectations. Because FYI, during the launching day, if we compare to the other countries in the region, we were the biggest one. Yeah, we approximately successfully transaction volume, it's more or less 35 million rupiah.
Oh, wow.
35 billion.
Billion,
yeah.
Okay. So 35 billion since September, so it's very short time. Now, can we discuss the economic opportunities that the carbon market present for Indonesian businesses and investors?
Sure. So basically, the carbon market is defined by like a two type of market, which is the first one is the mandatory, second one is the voluntary. Sometimes some people say it's offset. What we are discussing this morning, it's more to the offset market.
Okay.
But if we combine both this type of market, we expect like more than 150 maybe billion USD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
so,
very big, yeah.
Again, so there are two types of market.
Yes.
One is for offset and one is for mandatory, but
yes.
the government for some industry.
Yes.
So how, so the government set numbers for the mandatory and then everything else is on the second...
Voluntary.
Oh, voluntary is not secondary market. So what is the overall grand visions of Indonesia's carbon exchange in terms of how much carbon emissions does it aim to reduce from the exchange and how it aims to accelerate the shift towards a greener economy or other aims maybe?
Yeah, sure. So basically what we have to remember is the Indonesia has two very important targets, like 2030 and 2060. The NDC target is 2030, and then the net zero, it's like 2060 or earlier. So based on those very important targets, so the government set up like a big picture of the carbon economic volume program. Okay, and then again, I mean, when it comes to the carbon market, there are like specific targets, like specific numbers to achieve, which is the NDC. And then from NDC, approximately it's around like 1 to 3 gigatons CO2 that we have to reduce.
I'm sorry, 1 to 3
gigaton.
Okay.
Yeah, by 2030. And that's why the government set up like the NDC, and the 5 sectors also will be part of the NDC. Okay. Number 1 is energy sector, number 2 is the forestry, waste, agriculture, and industry.
Okay.
So these all sectors, they have very specific target on reducing the emissions.
All right.
Yeah, and government will be giving like a cap, like a maximum emission of this sector, and then after giving like a cap, the government will give like the allowance.
Okay.
These allowances are tradable through the carbon exchange.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I want to get back to that, but before that, how does the pricing mechanism work within Indonesia carbon market and how does it impact the demand?
Okay, sure. So when it comes like carbon pricing, it's very interesting topics in Indonesia because before we go to the pricing, there's like a basic philosophy of this carbon economic values in Indonesia. Because FYI, we picked one of the very comprehensive and complicated scheme among all the countries in the global. Yeah, some other countries they don't have cap and trade. So some other countries they only give like tax.
Okay.
Yeah, without cap and trade. Some other countries they like give like a cap, no trading but cap and tax.
Cap
But
and
Indonesia picked the most complicated one: cap, trade, and tax.
Okay.
Again, I mean, when it comes like a pricing, there's like three types of pricing in this case: the cap pricing, the trade pricing, and also the tax pricing. Yeah. But the big picture is the tax pricing, which is the carbon tax, should be the highest one compared to the cap and trade.
Okay. So now you mentioned earlier there's the industry, there's the energy industry that's already being energy industrial. You mentioned agriculture and
Agriculture,
some
yep.
others. So right now, they are mandatory already have to offset their output of CO2.
Yes.
But at the same time, whatever I guess a surplus, they can trade it according to your explanation earlier. So they can trade it on the secondary, or not secondary market, on the
Carbon exchange.
the carbon exchange. That's what they can trade afterwards. So is there any such company, an example of a company that been able to reach that goals and actually able to offset their numbers and then be able to be on the carbon exchange so far in Indonesia?
Yeah, the existing two projects under the IDX Carbon as of today, we have Pertamina and also PLN.
Oh, okay.
So there are like two projects. One of the project is renewable projects.
Oh yes. Oh,
the geothermal.
Yeah. Yes. Geothermal, and then PLN also have that on the. It's like not a geothermal with solar panel and
solar panel and also windmill.
Windmill.
Yeah,
right.
There are types of renewables in Indonesia, but one of the existing listed now as of today in IDX Carbon, it's the geothermal.
Geothermal. Oh, okay.
So it's one of the example where the energy industry can also be part of both market, the mandatory and also the voluntary.
Yeah.
And since the Pertamina Holding, it's also the one of the biggest energy company, right, in global. And they're also right now part of the voluntary, which is interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is very interesting. It's good news too. I mean, like for energy, is the one that leading on this offset. Now, Ojeka said that the number of user and transactions on the carbon exchange is still relatively low and could be much higher. What step can we take on to increase this participation and transaction on the exchange, and what are the main challenges?
Okay. Yeah. The number as of this morning, we actually have 53 instead of 52. Okay, so from this 53, it's basically we are talking about the voluntary carbon market as of today. What we don't have today in the IDX Carbon is the mandatory market. All I'm saying is once this mandatory carbon market going into the IDX Carbon, I believe it's approximately up to 100 companies will also be listed, adding on to the 53. Because today, we have only voluntary market, we don't have the mandatory.
Okay.
But that one of the target is we want to bring this mandatory into the IDX Carbon, so then, approximately up to 200 companies will be also part of.
That's fourfold from the current.
Of course, if we compare to the future target, it's still low.
So what's the challenges? Like, how come? Why there's not? If you mentioned like even the mandatory can up to by 200, what can we do to? What's the challenges to push them even to push more companies to join?
There's always a tricky question on that, because this type of carbon market in Indonesia, it's quite new for everyone.
Yes.
So when they are entering the market, they have to make sure, with their own policy, with the government policy and also regulation, right? So they have to very fit into, do the right thing, right? Because in the beginning, maybe industry think that this type of carbon market will also be kind of cost for them. Instead of like opportunities. And that's why we always, you know, we always tell to the industry that, you know what, the emission reductions is also part of the cost avoidance and also cost reduction of their kind of the operation costs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Think about if they can reduce the emissions, they can reduce their costs, and also the certificate can also be traded. So there's
Right.
double revenue.
I was going to ask you that. So right now, it's only traded for companies, right?
Yeah.
It's not open for public or retail at the
retail,
moment.
not yet. Yeah.
But can other companies from outside of Indonesia, like in the region, can they actually join on the trading? Because you mentioned earlier, they only have the tax,
Yeah.
but they don't have the opportunity for trading. So how's that work?
Good question. It's been like a common question, you know, for all of the regulators. The answer is yes. We are actually about to have type of international market mechanism. Yeah, our target is to introduce this type of international trading by this year. I mean, OJK with all the regulators, you know, with the coordinating Ministry of Marine Affairs, you know, the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Energy, we talk a lot on that part. Because we successfully done on the national base, but we want to also contribute to global. Yeah, that's why we consider our IDX Carbon will be also part of the big players, you know, in global, because we want also to support the global climate change issues.
So with that, how do you see the Indonesia carbon market will take the roles in country sustainable development and the global?
Of course, yeah. When it comes to the sustainability issue, I would say lucky us, because most of industry in Indonesia, the maturity level on the sustainability and climate change, they are way actually more advanced compared to the other countries. Why I'm saying this? Because if you see among the industry, they are very good in terms of the programs and projects to tackle the climate change. And think about, as I mentioned to you before, there is like a mandatory market, which is the government will set up this you know, mandatory market, and inside the mandatory market there are like specific industries. But interesting numbers based on the existing report that we have from the IDX Carbon, actually more than 50% involved in the market which is outside of this mandatory.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Think about like lot of banks actually. Yeah, financial companies also involved in this existing carbon market.
All right, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a good investment if the bank
Yes.
is already on this. All right, Mas Ali, thank you so much for being here on See Today Business. I hope
No
I see you again here with more better numbers
Exactly, yeah.
in the coming years.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we are going for a break. When we return, we'll have some more business and economic updates. Stay tuned.